Ferrari just got approval for the upgrade every rival feared, and Red Bull may have the biggest reason to be furious, because this is not just a normal engine step before Austria. This is Ferrari using the rulebook to attack the one weakness Mercedes, McLaren, and Red Bull were all counting on: the power gap. Ferrari was still believed to be around 25 horsepower behind Mercedes, and that weakness gave the rest of the grid comfort. It made Ferrari look dangerous but not complete, fast but still limited, ambitious but still catchable. Now that comfort may be gone, the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile has cleared Ferrari's additional development opportunity path, and if this upgrade works, Ferrari could combine stronger power with aggressive aerodynamics, sharp traction, reliable running, and the Hamilton and Leclerc driver pairing at the exact moment Red Bull is already under pressure. That is why this feels like a paddock revolt. Mercedes sees its engine advantage being hunted, McLaren sees Ferrari's ceiling rising, and Red Bull sees the nightmare scenario: a rival getting stronger while their own project is still surrounded by questions. Ferrari has not won the Austrian Grand Prix yet, but they may have just won the permission to become the car everyone feared they were building. Subscribe to the channel. To understand why this approval has created so much pressure, you have to look at what the other teams were secretly relying on. They were not relying on Ferrari being slow. That would be too simple. They were relying on Ferrari being incomplete. That is a very different thing. A slow car is easy to dismiss. You beat it, you move on, and the championship fight happens somewhere else. But an incomplete car is more dangerous, because it means the performance is already visible before the final piece has arrived. And that is exactly why Ferrari's cleared additional development opportunity path before Austria has shaken the paddock. Ferrari was not supposed to have the full answer yet. Mercedes still had the engine advantage. McLaren still had the balanced package. Red Bull still had reasons to believe Ferrari's weakness would limit the damage. Everyone could look at the red car and say, yes, it has potential, but the power gap will hold it back. That power gap was the comfort zone. It was the one flaw every rival could point to. Ferrari could have strong traction, but Mercedes had the stronger engine. Ferrari could have aggressive aerodynamics, but Red Bull could still hope the package was too complex to control. Ferrari could have Hamilton and Leclerc, but McLaren could still believe Ferrari lacked the complete technical platform to turn both drivers into a full championship threat. That was the calculation. Then came the approval. And suddenly, the one weakness everyone was counting on no longer looked permanent. That is what changes the mood. Because Formula One teams do not fear a single upgrade in isolation. They fear what an upgrade unlocks. If Ferrari adds power to a bad car, the reaction is limited. It helps, but it does not transform the picture. If Ferrari adds power to a car with strong traction, efficient aerodynamics, stable hybrid management, and solid reliability, the same upgrade becomes far more dangerous. That is the detail rivals cannot ignore. Ferrari's problem has never been that the whole car looked lost. The problem was more specific. The engine side was still behind Mercedes. The power deficit mattered. It hurt Ferrari in full throttle sections. It reduced the freedom to run more downforce. It gave rivals a place to breathe. But Ferrari was already trying to cover that weakness with the rest of the car. Better exits, cleaner energy use, less drag, more grip where it matters. A car that could get out of slow and medium speed corners without falling apart. A platform reliable enough to keep learning instead of constantly repairing. So when the governing process clears Ferrari's development route, the paddock does not just see extra horsepower. It sees a threat becoming more complete. That is why Mercedes will be watching this with such care. Mercedes knows that its power unit advantage is not just a number. It is part of the way races are controlled. If your engine is stronger, you can defend more easily. You can force rivals to overwork the tires. You can open gaps on straights. You can make strategy simpler because the car gives you margin. Ferrari's upgrade attacks that margin. It may not erase it completely. That would be too easy, and Ferrari still has to prove the performance on track. But it only needs to reduce the gap enough to make Mercedes uncomfortable. And uncomfortable is where mistakes begin. A driver pushes a little harder than planned. A strategist covers a threat one lap earlier than ideal. Engineers become more aggressive with settings. Tires are asked to do more. The calm rhythm of a race becomes a defensive rhythm. That is what Ferrari wants. Ferrari does not need Mercedes to panic. They need Mercedes to think twice. And at the front of Formula One, making a rival think twice can be the beginning of control. For McLaren, the approval is dangerous in another way. McLaren's strength is balance. A car that works across different phases of a weekend is incredibly hard to beat. It does not need one dramatic trick. It builds pressure through consistency. That is why a balanced car can win championships. But Ferrari's clear development path threatens to raise the ceiling. If Ferrari's aerodynamics already give them efficiency, and the power unit begins to close the gap, then McLaren has to decide how quickly to respond. Do they trust their own package, or do they speed up development because Ferrari may be coming faster than expected? That decision is never simple. Rush and you risk bringing parts the team does not fully understand. Wait and you risk watching Ferrari step into the fight before you have protected your advantage. That is why the Ferrari approval creates pressure beyond Mercedes. It forces every major rival to make decisions earlier. And early decisions are dangerous. But Red Bull's reaction is the most explosive because Red Bull's situation carries a different kind of stress. Imagine Hamilton close behind a Mercedes in the final part of a stint. Before the upgrade, Mercedes could trust that the straight would give them oxygen. They could expect the Ferrari to lose just enough ground to make the next braking zone safe. But if Ferrari's power delivery improves, Hamilton does not need to be much faster. He only needs to stay close enough. That is where his racecraft becomes dangerous. He can pressure without overdriving. He can make the Mercedes driver use more tire. He can force defensive energy deployment. He can sit in the uncomfortable zone where the leading car cannot relax. That is not dramatic from the outside at first. But inside the cockpit, it is exhausting. Then there is Leclerc. Leclerc's threat is sharper. If the upgrade gives him just enough straight line protection, Ferrari can afford to set the car up with the response he wants for qualifying. That means more confidence on entry, more rotation through the corner, and more aggression when the lap is at its peak. If Leclerc starts higher on the grid, Mercedes cannot simply wait for race pace. They have to solve the problem immediately. And on a short lap like Austria, track position can turn into a trap. One Ferrari ahead can disturb the race plan. Two Ferraris in the fight can break it open. That is why the rivals are so sensitive to this approval. It is not only about horsepower. It is about what horsepower allows Ferrari's drivers to do. More power can protect a race setup. More power can support a qualifying setup. More power can reduce compromise. And reducing compromise is how a good car becomes a great one. This is the hidden fear in the paddock. Ferrari may not be chasing one dramatic leap. They may be chasing freedom. Freedom to run the aerodynamic package the way they want. Freedom to let Hamilton focus on race stability. Freedom to let Leclerc attack qualifying. Freedom to defend without draining the battery too early. Freedom to pressure Mercedes without cooking the tires. Freedom to make Red Bull and McLaren react. That is what the additional development opportunity could unlock. And that is why Red Bull's frustration is not just about fairness. It is about timing. Because timing can decide a championship. An upgrade that arrives too late becomes a lesson for next year. An upgrade that arrives too early can be unreliable. But an upgrade that arrives just as the team's car is stable enough to use it, just before a track where the weakness would have been exposed, can change the whole season. That is what makes Austria feel like a trigger point. If Ferrari's upgrade clears the process and then fails to deliver, rivals will dismiss the panic. They will say the system worked, the gain was limited, and the hierarchy remains intact. But if Ferrari arrives and the car looks stronger where it used to be vulnerable, the reaction will harden. The complaints will not disappear. They will grow. Because teams complain most when they think the rival has found something real. That is how Formula One works. When an idea is slow, nobody cares. When an idea is fast, suddenly everyone wants clarity. The same will happen here. If Ferrari's upgrade works, every rival will study the approval. Every rival will study the performance gain. Every rival will ask whether the rule should be interpreted this way again. Every rival will wonder whether Ferrari has gained more from the mechanism than the raw power number suggests. And they will be right to ask the question, because the whole car matters. A power gain on a draggy car is one thing. A power gain on an efficient car is another. A power gain with poor traction is one thing. A power gain with strong exits is another. A power gain on an unreliable platform is one thing. A power gain on a stable platform is the real threat. Ferrari appears to be aiming for the final version. That is why this story feels bigger than an upgrade sheet. It is about whether Ferrari has reached the moment where the car stops being a collection of promising ideas and starts becoming a complete front-running weapon. The governing approval gives them permission. Austria gives them the stage. The rivals give them the pressure. Now Ferrari has to give the answer. And the answer will not come from the loudest reaction in the paddock. It will come from the first time the red car exits a corner and Mercedes expects to breathe but cannot. It will come from the first time Leclerc protects track position without being swallowed on the straight. It will come from the first time Hamilton keeps the tires alive while staying close enough to force strategy decisions. It will come from the first time Red Bull realizes Ferrari's gain is not just political, but real. That is when the approval becomes something else. It becomes proof. And proof is what every rival fears most. Because anger can be managed. Rumors can be denied. Political pressure can be absorbed. But proof on track changes the championship. Ferrari's challenge now is brutal. They cannot simply celebrate the clearance. They have to turn it into performance without losing reliability. They have to add power without adding fragility. They have to increase aggression without making the car unpredictable. They have to give Hamilton and Leclerc enough confidence to attack in different ways, while keeping the team operation clean. That is a lot to ask. But that is exactly why the rivals are worried. Because if Ferrari can do it, the Austrian Grand Prix will not be remembered as the weekend where a development mechanism was approved. It will be remembered as the weekend where Ferrari's unfinished car started to look complete.